Hello, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. I am Madison, and I'm going to be going through the 2022 Minnesota State 4-H Horse Show patterns. This video is specifically talking and looking at the trail. So, like I said, my name is Madison. I am a Minnesota 4-H alumni. I used to show in AQHA shows at a local and regional level. And I am also the Minnesota 4-H PDC Northwest Region one of the adult representatives. If you haven't watched one of these patterns before, or pattern review things that I do, thank you for clicking on this video and watching. But also, in general, what I like to do is go over and present these patterns and tell you what I would do if I was showing in them and what I look for. So I always like to ask myself, what is the judge looking for? What is going to be, in general, easy and difficult? And also, what is going to be easy and difficult for my horse and myself? Where do I need to be at any given point? And where do I need to be going and planning? So that all leads into and ties into having a plan for success for you and your horse, because you never want to go into a situation where you don't have some sort of plan that will help you and your horse be as successful and have as positive of a experience as possible. Before you go to the warm-up pen, make sure that you have fly spray, a brush, or a rag. Make sure all of your tack and equipment is cleaned and safe and correct, and also make sure that you have your number. In all Minnesota 4-H horse events, you are required to have a number on both sides of your saddle pad. That way the judge can see your number at all times. Without further ado, let us continue and go into our pattern. Grades 6 through 9, your pattern is on the right, your directions are in the top left, and I would like you to just take a minute, and ask yourselves the questions that are in the bottom left before you continue on. Of course, you don't have to. It's not like I can stop you, but I think it is a good exercise in order to help you become more independent in the future. I have gone through and highlighted kind of the key sections of this pattern. First, and it's really simple, just gonna walk into your chute. If you can practice doing this back in the chute. You don't even need poles. You can just do it with some cones. To do that, let me get my little laser pointer and I can point out where. So you'll need two cones, one here and one here. This is probably going to be about 3.5, maybe 4 feet across this way. I would practice with it tighter than what you think it's going to be in there, just so, your practice is more difficult than what it's actually going to be, stress and things. And you're also going to want a cone here and a cone over here, just so you have a reference on, like, when you're practicing, where you should go. But you are going to back. You're then going to, personally, what I would do is you're backing. You're going to add your right leg at your horse's hip to move their butt away from you, so their hip goes to the left. Then you're going to back a couple steps. Then you are going to move their right shoulder, so you're going to then move your right leg forward and move their right shoulder across. You will end up with your horse here. You don't need to necessarily back all the way out of the chute. However, you shouldn't just stop, halfway. You should back so most, if not all, of your horse is out of the chute. I encourage you to please take your time here, because this is going to be, besides the gait, the most time-consuming step that you have, okay? So you should take your time here. Don't get frustrated. Practice with your horse a little bit. Honestly, when you're practicing, just be concerned about moving their shoulders and hips around. Get that control before you go in. Make sure it's there. It should be there before you even get down to state, but when you're warming up, double check. Once you get all the way backed, not completely out of the chute, but at least the majority of the way, you're then going to ask your horse to trot or jog, because we're in Western class, unless you're showing in English. I'm going to jog over your 4 poles. If you want to practice setting up poles to jog over in the warm-up pen outside, you can. Typically, all trot poles are between 3 and 3.5 feet, and all lope over poles are between 6 and 7.5. It's either 7 or 7.5. I can't remember everything. Trot poles, I do know, are between 3 and 3.5 feet. So set those up. Probably set them up both ways so you know what to do when you get in there. Once you get over the poles, and granted, I don't know how quickly they're going to have this lope over pole down here, but given the size of the egg star, they're probably not going to have it be too short for you guys, but I also wouldn't expect like a ton of time either. So pretty soon after you get over your trot poles, you're probably going to want to start loping, which means you should have your, contact with your horse's face and control over them. Honestly, while a lot of people like pros show and trail with the reins super long, I personally never got to that point with my horse, and I feel like in most situations for most people they are not there either. So you're gonna lope on the left lead coming up to the pole. I would encourage you, if you feel so inclined, in warm-up to lope over poles. Please do not just lope over a single pole. I would encourage you to lope over 2 or even 3 or 4 in a row, simply so your horse is, number 1, required to actually pay attention to the poles, and number 2, so you can tell your horse is probably more likely to just leap over a pole if it's a single one than if it's multiple. But your horse is also more likely to just not pay attention if it's just a single pole. Warm up, do whatever you wish. You're loping on the left lead. So you're gonna for sure turn, and again, depending on how they set things up, will change slightly how you do this. For sure, I would lope and be in line, so like in line facing the box, but you don't necessarily need to lope like right up to it. You should lope, the majority of the way, but if you stop a horse length away and then you walk in, that's fine. Well, I shouldn't say you stop and then walk in, but you get what I mean, right? You're going to walk into the box. So the turn in the box is not a pivot. It is more of a, look at this cute little animation. Oh my gosh. Whee! Okay, so it is the front and the hind end moving not necessarily at the exact same time, but it's more of your horse walking in a circle than it is them pivoting. Again, most boxes, and if I had to guess, they're probably going to make this a more difficult box, so it's probably going to be a 6 foot by 6 foot inside measurement box. So again, practice in the warm-up pen, going in a box and turning either direction, and because you have the choice, you can pick whichever way you and your horse are more comfortable or better at. You're then going to walk out of the box, turn and walk over the bridge. From experience, lots of horses really don't like the bridge down at State, and it's kind of a shame because there isn't really a way for you guys to practice with it beforehand, but just take your time. Take a deep breath. I know it sounds weird, but don't act like you're going up towards anything scary with your horse. Just kind of like ask them. Hopefully the box is not scary, or the bridge is not scary to your horse that day, but if it is, take a deep breath, do the best you can, and then go on from there. Once you finish walking over it, you can pick up the jog. You don't have to necessarily turn this sharp. Again, it depends on where they set up the gate. If the gate's more like over here, you're obviously going to want to jog like out here. But if they set up the gate like way over here, you'll figure it out when you're in there. Yay, my little animation. You and your horse are going to stop facing this way. You are then going to back once you have picked up. I assume they are doing a rope gate. I might be wrong. If they aren't doing a rope gate, it's different. I'm hopeful it's a rope. So, You're going to stop. If you ride with your reins in your right hand, this is going to be easy. If you ride with your reins in your left hand, you're going to have to transfer them to your right hand. So you're going to do that. Make sure you move the tail, if you're riding one-handed, of your reins over to the right side. You're then going to pick up the gait with your left hand. Ask your horse to back straight up, probably 3 or 4 steps. You're then going to walk in a half circle. So you're not side passing through it, you're not doing anything fancy, you're just going to walk in a C shape. So you are then facing this direction, and then you are going to just ask your horse to back up another 3 or 4 steps, hopefully straight. You don't want to walk when you do your C, so your horse is at an angle. You want to end up so when you stop to back, so you and your horse are parallel with the gait. So when you just back up straight, your horse doesn't do anything. Number one thing, when you look, let's say, the gate is going to be on your left. If you turn your head and look at the gate, your horse is going to be like, oh my goodness, why are you looking over there while you're asking me to back? I should look over there. So then your horse is going to swing its hips away from the gate. So when you're backing at the gate, try not to look at it. Try and look straight ahead of you. And if you need to just, ask more with your right leg than your left leg when you're backing to encourage your horse to stay next to it. Again, if your horse freaks out at the gate, please do not, do anything that would put you or your horse in harm's way. You can drop or let go of the gate, and that's fine. Your safety is worth more than any ribbon, okay? Cool. Grades 10 plus, your pattern is on the right, the directions are on the left, and questions I would like for you to stop and ask yourself are in the bottom left. You're probably thinking, Madison, this is only the first part of our pattern. What did you do with the rest of it? So, once I'm done explaining the first 4 steps, I'm going to tell you to go back and watch the 6 through 9 because I am already starting to lose my voice. I have 2 videos to edit and 1 more to record still tonight. You get to do that because it is literally the exact same. You just lope over 2 poles instead of 1. But for right now, coming back to what we were initially doing, you are going to walk from the cone into the chute. Ta-da! You are then going to, and I explained this again in the 6 through 9, you are then going to come back up straight. I would move my horse's hips over a step, back, move it over more if I need to, and back a step. Then once I am here, I'm going to bring the shoulders through this opening, and then just back straight. Ta-da! So, then we get to this part that's in red, because I sat here and I thought about it, and I was like, okay, so if I was showing in this, what would I want to do versus what is it telling me to do versus what is the judge going to see and interpret what I am doing? Those are all 3 different things, believe it or not. What I would do is back. So when I am done, the horse's front feet, their shoulders are going to be even-ish with the ends of these poles, if not a little bit inside. Then what I'm going to do is treat this like a turn on the forehand and move my horse's hips over until his feet are respectively where the cute little hoof prints are on this pattern. And then I am going to side pass over. So, I thought about this for a long time as to how should you do this, because step 4, they tell you to turn slightly to the left, then trot. And I would have expected if they had wanted you to treat this as a pivot or a turn, you would be asked to do so. However, this pole where it's going to be, I assume, is close enough you're not going to be able to walk out and walk around and walk over it again. There's a lot of different ways that you can approach obstacles and trail. This is how I would do it. If this sounds, something that you can't do with your horse, before you go in, I recommend you look at how the pattern is set up, see where things are. As long as you have a plan that you think will work, you can do that. But that is how I personally would go about it, is to treat it like a turn on the forehand. So I swing my horse's hips to the left and position my horse over the pole. Then I would execute my side pass. Grade 10. You can now go back to not the beginning, but the beginning at least of the 6 through 9 pattern and listen to me explain all of my stuff to them. Again, your guys' pattern is the exact same thing, except you have 2 poles to lope over rather than just 1. Good luck to all exhibitors. This is the end of my trail video. It's a lot shorter than the other ones because it's pretty much the exact same for both of you guys. Just one minute difference in which I talked with the grades 10 plus about. If you have any questions, please comment them. If you have any constructive criticism, you can also comment that. If you would like to watch my other videos, I plan to have there is already a showmanship up, but I also plan to make a horsemanship and equitation video that should be up soon. They will be likely in a playlist, or I'll probably have them linked below. Who knows? You can subscribe to my channel if you would like to. That's that red button below. And you can also ring the little bell thingy, and then it should notify you. I have no idea how YouTube actually works. So, have fun, good luck. Remember, trail, you have time more than you think. So remember to take a deep breath before your obstacles that are more difficult. And, you and your horse's safety is more important than any ribbon. So if you get into a hairy situation, just take the safe way and, do what is best for you and your horse.